Hi, I'm Christy. I'm the National Manager of PC4, so that's the Primary Care Collaborative Cancer Clinical Trials Group. And probably like some of you in the audience, 18 months ago I had no idea what a podcast was. I'd not jumped on the bandwagon, but we have a new communications coordinator, Caroline, who you'll hear from in this video. And she's really been instrumental in pushing PC4 to take on a new podcast. And we really did it to engage with our members. So we have over 700 members across Australia, predominantly cancer researchers, but they work in many different fields. And our goal is to support them in their research. And we felt that this podcast really was a great way not only to bring to them new research that's being published, so they don't have to do the searches. We're bringing them the best new publications, but it was also a platform where they could present their research and we could help them disseminate it to an international audience. And I think that's definitely been an unexpected benefit for us, is that we do actually have an international listenership, which I don't think we really thought about when we started this podcast. And our host for Cheers with Peers is an ECR, Sibel Sayer, and the popularity of the podcast has really surprised us. And not only that, she's been asked to present about her experience of being a host on a podcast. So one of the questions that we were asked to answer was about what we've learnt about recording a podcast so far. And given I only come in once a month and I put the headphones on and all the difficult work is done by the woman on my right, I'm going to pass the mic over to Caroline, because I really think her experience will be invaluable for you in thinking about how to develop a podcast and the benefits of a podcast.
So organising the podcast is actually a really great return on investment. It's win-win. The equipment that we use here, we've got the University of Melbourne studio that we can book for free. We have a wonderful sound recordist, Arch, who records all of the audio for us. We get supplied a little WAV file and I edit them using a free program software called Audacity. And then we upload to iTunes and SoundCloud, again, a free program to launch the podcasts on as well. So basically, it's a very cheap, easy way to disseminate your information around, your research around as well. And it's just a matter of, I guess, organising a social media campaign and promoting the podcasts as well. We recently organised for ourselves to be nominated in the Australian Podcast Awards, which is just a really nice way to actually get some information out there, give us a little bit of credibility with regards to what great work we're doing, and also tagging people that would be interested in hearing the podcast. So the universities that you're attached to, and also possibly the other researchers, the publishing paper, the BMJ, etc., that you would kind of contact with as well. So it's a really good, easy way to get your research out.
And I think as you've been talking, Caroline, the thing that actually I was thinking about that you've taught me, and I think that you've actually taught a lot of our guests, is that you can take as many takes as you want. You can take a break. You can stop. It doesn't matter if you stuff up. And the interesting thing has been we've had some quite senior researchers come and talk to us, and, you know, you're used to them in everyday interactions being really engaging and smiling. And it was an unexpected surprise, I think, to see some of them be a little bit nervous in the studio, you know, and they're people that talk all the time, that talk in meetings, that always go to conferences. And when they came in here for the first time, they kind of closed up a little bit. And so I think one thing that is really important is to really create a warm and engaging environment so that people feel really comfortable to speak. And that really produces a podcast that feels, you know, more natural and organic, but you also get the answers that you want out from them.
We were also really lucky to have access to a wonderful podcast training session. So at the University of Melbourne, there's a podcast group, which could be something that maybe your university has as well. And we just contacted them with regards to organising training for me personally. I did 3 days, 3-day course, which taught me all about different interview skills, how to record, and using Zoom, which is a little transportable microphone, as well as having access to the university studios here as well.
So I think that Cheers with Peers is really kind of one of the first steps for PC4 to engage with MCRs more. And having Jenny Walker, who is our podcast host, is, you know, giving an opportunity to an MCR to engage in this area and tell us what she wants, and also help her peers as well by, revealing those topics that maybe we as an organisation haven't thought about, and it gives us a platform then to think about how we can better support our mid-career researchers, and that's really what we'll be spending the next 12 months from this doing. So for mid-career researchers, which is Cheers with Peers Season 2 that we're actually recording right now with Jenny Walker, it was really important for us to sit together and to talk not only to her as a mid-career career researcher, but also a lot of other mid-career researchers to find out what topics are really important for them and what are the barriers they come up against in their research. What questions do they wish they could ask senior researchers? And we use that with Jenny to really craft our topics week to week. But we wanted to stay within the same structure of Cheers with Peers we had in season 1, which was 5 questions and a podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we really worked with those themes to try and create, again, 5 questions to keep the continuity, but to make sure that we were trying to get out of the episode the real crux of that issue that we wanted to talk about that week as well.
First of all, it's a really collaborative process. We work with the PC4 team and we get together and discuss what sort of themes that we would like to actually talk about, and then we work out who might be really interesting for us to interview. Once we've actually developed the theme for the actual season, and this season is a mid-career season, which is why we're talking about it here, we work out 5 questions that we would like to ask the people that we're interviewing. We send them the questions and then they can feedback if they have something more they'd like to explore or something that they feel is missing. The focus on the mid-career researcher questions are to really work out the way that they've developed into a more senior researcher from the mid-career research point in their research career. If there's a particular pivot point that propelled them forward, or person who helped them, or any particular advice they would give to a mid-career researcher to see what would actually help them propel to the next level. The podcasts have been very valuable in taking the opportunity to interview people internationally, and we take advantage of visiting scholars to ask them particular questions, which takes it out of the actual sort of Australian context and what might happen globally, and also to ask people who we work with but don't necessarily get the opportunity to really talk to them about how they've actually made that next step into being a senior researcher, which gives it a really nice authentic and friendly way of really exploring these particular issues. Most of our interviews go for 15 to 20 minutes, and we always like to end it with asking what type of podcast they might be listening to at the same time.
So we were also asked some questions specifically about, mid-career researchers in Australia, and I'm actually quite ashamed to say that those questions really made me realise that we don't know a lot about our mid-career researchers that are members of PC4. But what I can say is that this second season of Cheers with Peers, which is focused at mid-career researchers, is really going to give us a foundation to think about how we can better engage with our mid-career researchers and what issues are important to them and how PC4 can help them. But I also think it will give mid-career researchers a better understanding that PC4 can help them in more ways than they may have thought, and that we're also helping Jenny Walker, who's our podcast host, as an MCR. We're giving her an opportunity to engage with her peers and develop herself further as a mid-career researcher as well and improve her profile. So how do I think mid-career researchers currently use social media to promote their research? And I think there's 2 real groups. There's the really active social media users, and they are on Twitter. They promote out links to their newest publications. They're on LinkedIn, they're writing articles, and they're cross-promoting that research across multiple platforms at the same time, so that they're really maximising the potential of reaching a wider audience. And then I think you have that group of mid-career researchers who are technology phobic and they don't want to engage with social media at all, and they are either hesitant or they don't understand it, or they feel really busy and they think it takes a lot of time to become social media savvy. And I don't think that that's really true. I know a lot of mid-career researchers use platforms like TweetDeck. So they will plan their week's tweets, maybe first thing on a Monday morning when they're excited, schedule them, and then they leave Twitter for the week and they don't need to think about it. So I think social media and being active and trying to disseminate your research through those channels is really just about being smart about how you use it. You don't have to do more work. You just have to be smart about how you do that work. So one technique we think works at an organisational level that we also think would work at an individual level for mid-career researchers is to make sure that they follow the major funding bodies on Twitter, along with their institutional media Twitter accounts if they have one, so that way they can tag them when they're making specific tweets, maybe about funding, maybe about a publication or a new opportunity, and it'll help them grow their profile, but also to make the funders and the institutional bodies, their universities, aware of their work and more likely to do a media release or to profile them and help them push out their research at the right time. And also to follow the hashtags that are relevant for your field, and that really also helps identify influencers in your field that you can follow and try and engage with and build your professional network through social media that way as well and increase your profile. So I think to finish this video, to keep in theme with your top 5, Carolyn will magically edit onto the screen our top 5 tips for creating a podcast. So we just really wanted to thank you for inviting us to make this video. It's actually been a great reflection for us to think about all the work we've actually done over the past 12 months and what it's actually taken to get to this point. And we are more than happy to answer any questions that you might have about creating your own podcast. So feel free to email us as well. We're at info@pc4tg.com.au.
Or you can also tweet us a question at PC4TG.
Thank you.
Thanks.